All right. Now let's dial in Matthew Whitaker. He served as acting attorney general under President Trump. He joins us from our nation's capital, or that area as well. Good morning to you, sir.
Hey, good morning, Steve.
So what do you make of, that judge in Delaware was asking for a progress report? Hey, regarding that gun diversion thing, Hunter Biden's team thinks that it's still in effect, and the federal government says, no, that no longer is in effect. And yesterday, the government revealed, it sounds like he's going to be charged. They're going to put together a grand jury by the end of this month. He could be charged with that gun charge, right?
Yeah, which would be an extraordinary development in this case, but only such a small part of really what Hunter Biden was facing. You know, Steve, what we look at in these cases is what is the most readily chargeable offense. What is the most serious readily chargeable offense is usually the prosecutor's standard. And in this case, unfortunately, many of those tax charges have already lapsed through the statute of limitations, and so now we're left with just a few random charges, a couple misdemeanor taxes which weren't talked about in this hearing, and then this gun charge, which the government had already offered a diversion. And I can't imagine that if I'm defending Hunter Biden, that they're not screaming and jumping up and down and asking for that deal again.
Yeah, and the other thing is that, David Weiss is now special counsel when he wasn't before, and he was willing to enter into a plea deal with Hunter Biden. Now he has to be special counsel. Some people are speculating that it's because that would give him authority to send these charges to another more favorable jurisdiction, and Hunter Biden could possibly walk away with just probation. Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, in this case, it's like no other case I've ever seen. And as you know, I was a U.S. attorney, just like Mr. Weiss, for over 5 years, and have a lot of experience in these types of cases. And what I know is that no one that we prosecuted in my district ever got this kind of a sweetheart deal. But, we'll see. Allegedly, special counsel Weiss complained about not being able to take his cases where they should have been prosecuted. Now that he has that power, there's no indication that he's actually using those powers to go prove these cases up where he needs to take them.
Yeah, California, D.C., no jail time for sure.
Right, and we want to see how many more millions of dollars he was dealt with, and James Comer's pursuing on that end. A CNN poll came out this morning, and they said, do you think that Joe Biden had any involvement in Hunter's business dealings in Ukraine and China while serving as VP? 61% in the CNN poll said had some involvement, 38% not. You know what? It gives me a good feeling, Matt, that there's a logical American public who understand we put scrutiny to this. There's circumstantial evidence to this. There's a guy, Hunter Biden, saying, my dad's sitting next to me and is not happy, and we're not going to forget, to a Chinese official. We know about the long dinners with the Burisma officials. We know about the interaction from Devin Archer from the Dubai meeting with Burisma, where he got D.C. on the phone. It seems like the American public is beginning to figure it out.
Yeah, it does, but 40% still believe that Joe Biden wasn't involved, even when Hunter Biden tells, his most closest family members that he gives half of his income to his father. So, there's obviously a long way to go here. There's a lot of circumstantial evidence that shows that Joe Biden was benefiting from Hunter's deals, and I think the House and their work is very important, but, 40% is still the base of the Democrat Party that don't believe there's anything wrong here.
Yeah, but the independents and undecideds that make up more than what Donald Trump got in his vote.
Hey, Matt, let me ask you an excellent question, and that is, it was last year the Supreme Court gave people the broad right to carry guns outside the house. They struck down a New York City law, as you remember. Hunter Biden's team says, essentially, that could derail the prosecution of that gun charge. Is that a possibility?
It's not, and Steve, what we have here is obviously the Second Amendment, gives lawful citizens a right to carry firearms, and the Supreme Court has been, defining where that line is. But typically, they have also said that Congress has an ability to regulate certain things, including drug users in possession of a firearm or lying on a federal form. And so, I don't think that will give him an out on this case.
All right, let's see what happens. Matthew Whitaker, sir, thank you very much for joining us on this Thursday.
Matt.
All right.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.